Hello, I'm Steve Chernosky once again, and this is Tapinto You, a podcast on local and regional issues. And this is a new segment called Take Me to Your Leader. And today I'm joined with Marlene Baldinger, a critical care nurse, hospital healthcare risk manager, and a member of the Lebanon Borough Council since 2015. Marlene, welcome. How long have you been in the borough, and what got you involved in local politics?
Hi, Steve. Thanks so much for the opportunity to speak with you today. I've actually been in Lebanon Borough 31 years
Oh,
this
wow.
year, so it's quite a while. And I have really been involved in local politics since about 2012, initially elected as a member of our local school board. And after 2 terms as a school board member, decided to run for town council and did so in 2016.
And what made you want to get involved into local politics, the board and the council?
Well, I mean, I just love this community. We're 1 square mile here in Lebanon Borough. Everybody is not only a neighbor, but they're a friend. And it's just such a great community. And I really saw there was an opportunity to have, at that time, in particular, some new ideas, new people getting involved in politics. I happen to be from the entire council was all of one party for many, many years.
Mhm.
And I thought it would be good to introduce a woman, introduce a different perspective, and just look forward to the opportunity to give back because I've really benefited so much by living in this town.
What are some of the big local municipal issues that have come up over the past handful of years there that is notable to people watching and listening?
Steve, I would say quality of life is beautiful in Lebanon Borough, but
Yeah,
one of the things that we could always improve on is communication, particularly as it relates to how government operates. People are always concerned about taxes, property taxes in
sure.
particular,
Always.
on the local level, the cost of schools. So I really felt it was important in my role to help bridge that gap so that if people had questions and concerns, they knew there was someone that they could come to speak to, both myself individually or as a group to our council, really encouraging people to come to meetings, to get involved, to participate. I am on the communications committee for the town, and one of my big issues was to further develop and enhance the Lebanon Borough Lantern, which is our newsletter. So we've made it, with more current information, whether you needed to know how your property taxes were calculated, or the recycling process, or about our local school, really making it information that people need to know and can use to enhance their quality of life. So that was one of my big issues. I do, as I've mentioned, I am a critical care nurse by training, a hospital risk manager, and I've done a lot of lectures in the community on how to be an educated healthcare consumer, particularly for our senior citizens, the Lebanon Seniors Group. And so I thought that I would take that and share that information even more broadly. And I do write an article, The Smart Patient, for our newsletter. And whether it's how to use Dr. Google, or questions to ask when you go to your doctor, or information about medications, I do like to update the newsletter with information that may not be specific to Lebanon Borough, but is something that's going to be meaningful to everyone who lives here, whether you have an infant or you're a senior citizen or everyone in between.
Yeah, communication is a challenge. Like, I think that, are you going, you don't want everything going on the local community Facebook page, right? But then that's, social media is important, but also getting people to sign up if you have any listserv is important. And just making sure, like, we're doing a poll here for our school board in the coming weeks. And it's a big conversation. Like, how do you make sure the most set of eyes are on this and that they see it and it's visible and they'll actually interact with it and take the poll? And it's got to be a challenge with communication these days across generations.
Yeah, no, Steve, I think that's a great point. And one of the differentiators for Lebanon Borough in particular is our size. So when I first ran for political office, and even before that, I am a runner. I do run for
Me
health
too.
and fitness and exercise. That's great.
I'm going out in the
It's
rain
the
right after this.
Me too.
Nice,
Maybe I'll
do it.
see you out there.
All right.
I'd like to run. I love your scene in the back. That's a nice place to run.
Oh, thanks.
It looks like. But so my campaign slogan was actually running for what's important to you. And I meant that sincerely, because when I would go out and run, I would see all my neighbors and people
Yeah.
that are new residents, someone who just moved in, people who've been here a long time, and we would just wave and say hi. But as a
Get to see all the
someone who's
potholes that way too. Get to see all the potholes too.
public safety, let me tell you, I think one of the things that got me elected on Brunswick Avenue was that I helped support getting the road repaved. I said I was going to do it, worked with our roads and streets and roads committee, and it actually happened. So yeah, so you really do get that local firsthand opportunity to hear what is important to the residents in town. So whether it's someone worried about a drone flying by their window,
Oh,
whether, yeah, which is sort of the new technology, whether it's concerns around public safety, even in a town that's very safe. We actually were looking at whether or not we would stay with the state police that provides us
sure.
our policing versus going to moving to another townships, partnering and sharing the service. And I was one of those. I put together a spreadsheet with all the criteria that I heard from our neighbors, what was important: response time, community policing, training and education, and really determined that the best representation for our town was to continue with the state police. We have a great relationship with them. So it's that firsthand knowledge of being able to communicate directly with people. The other thing, Steve, is having children that are in school. So it sort of gives you a finger
Yeah.
on the pulse of what's going on in the community, hearing from other parents, hearing from the teachers. Uh, I think anything you could do to outreach is really the best way to be a wonderful representative, a political or a government service representative for your town.
Yeah, no. So, and I do want to talk about the children in a little bit, but I actually have a question very specific to Lebanon. Did you notice this summer at all during quarantine that there was maybe, for people unfamiliar, Lebanon is very close to Round Valley, and I had, and I'll tell you, this is something that was a result of the quarantine. I had never gone and hiked around Round Valley, and it's kind of close. I'm in Lambertville, so it's like a half hour away. I did it probably a handful of times this year. And then you see some of you got a lot of listeners down here in the Stockton Lambertville area will be familiar with Metropolitan Seafood. And then you got Sunken Silo there. And then you're like, wow, there's this little town with Round Valley. It's beautiful. And then I'm wondering if that's where your drones are coming from. People are taking photos of Round Valley, right? So did you notice, I was there a lot like this year. I mean, did you notice that maybe people were discovering your area for the first time from because we couldn't get on airplanes? I mean, I know it's a weird question, but I was in your neighborhood quite a bit this summer.
Well, thank you, Steve, for recognizing that. That's really, I think the Lebanon Borough is a treasure in so many ways. And one of the main things that attracted me to this community was Round Valley. That no matter the season, it's always beautiful. It's a great place to hike, to run around, to boat, to swim. There's actually a beach there. And
Oh, I want to look up scuba diving now. You could scuba dive there. I was like, what? Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because, for as many years originally, Steve, I know my accent won't give me away, but originally I'm from Brooklyn.
No,
And
no.
surprise.
Yeah.
And I have to say that when I came out here, I was amazed at so many people. I do see license plates from New Jersey and Pennsylvania, but also a lot of people coming from New York.
Mm.
So I think the word has gotten out, and probably the pandemic and people, having to stay closer to home, but wanting to be out there in the fresh air, see other people, enjoy the beauty and the nature that Round Valley offers. It definitely has picked up, and I'm probably out there. You have to tell me about some of the trails you took out there, and some good ones.
No, I took the short one probably. I forget the name. It was probably the blue or the white and because I have small children. Getting to children now. I have children, and my 8-year-old actually did the whole thing and then actually requested to do it again. And I was like, oh my God, this is a kid I couldn't even get to go like a quarter of a mile down the road, and now he's doing this. And like a deer ran past him. Like one time, I swear it almost hit him. but he was running so fast ahead of me. And I love this as a father. First time you see this, and the deer like almost brushed him. And I think that's why he finally got real tastes of nature, and I think that's why he and my daughter kept requesting to want to go back. So it
Oh,
was
that's great. Well, maybe you might even want to come and move to, there might be one or two places that are, Lambertville is beautiful though, I will say
yeah.
that also. It's a great area.
So you're in addition to your many responsibilities, you're also a parent, which during quarantine we should all be given like medals, right? Of course. So do you want to introduce them now? Your daughters. Do you want to bring them on? So Ava, what is your favorite subject right now?
My favorite subject is math.
It's good. How have you liked online learning? I mean, I know it's a little different from the spring. Are you hybrid right now? Are you in 5 days a week? What's your situation?
Oh, thankfully, because we're a smaller school, we're able to be in 5 days a week. We have a half
Wow.
day until 12:45. And we do have the option to go fully virtual,
Yep.
but I'm 100% in school.
Wow, so are my children. Again, a benefit of living in a small town in Lambertville. They're in 5 days a week. I, as a teacher in a middle school, in a much larger district, I'm hybrid right now. I have a feeling that might change after spring break, but to be determined.
Yeah, the hoping so. And, as someone, even working in the hospital environment, and I had worked the
I,
vaccine clinic. And, I have to say though, Steve, as a nurse, even as a critical care nurse, although I've
yeah,
been in administration for many years, this pandemic, this last year is like nothing I have ever seen clinically, medically, the intensity, the sadness of,
yeah,
some of the circumstances of people who were sick and couldn't have their family members close to them. So,
yeah.
I'm glad I had the opportunity also to work the vaccine clinics and seeing that
I,
now we have more options for people, as you know, to get
yeah.
vaccinated. We want to see our teachers vaccinated too, to keep everybody healthy is really going to be a critical impetus to getting us back towards normal again.
I can't imagine. I mean, in the industry that you're in, and then on top of that, being a mother and being involved in local politics, it, I hope you get a vacation, somewhere in 2021. No, but seriously, it's had to be, I mean, in the profession that you're in addition to being a parent and doing navigating the online learning, it's had to be quite a lot.
And Steve, one of the other things I like to do is I'm a volunteer. I'm actually a board trustee on an organization. It's called Bridgeway Rehabilitation, and they provide mental health and substance abuse services in 11 counties in New Jersey. And they generally do a lot of community outreach. So really challenged by having to provide services, particularly mental health services, to a very broad community and using every method available, including going out and trying to keep themselves safe and doing telehealth. So I think that's another area that we really need to support both
Yeah.
all our communities, and particularly the younger people who are having some trouble struggling with this pandemic and the impact it has on their, personally and socially, and their
Sure.
families, etc.
And Alexa, why don't we start off with you? So where are you right now in terms of your schooling, favorite subjects? How's, learning going in this pandemic?
So I'm Alexa. I'm a junior at North Highland High School. I'm currently enrolled in Polytech's 3D Animation 1 course. And I think that's my favorite course
Wow.
above everything. That's my passion. Uh, it's definitely different than
Yeah.
previous years having a class like that, because that class takes up an entire day for me. Um, but I prioritize that class. Learning's really different virtually, but it hasn't really been a big deal for me since I've always been fine with doing stuff on the computer.
Yeah, I would imagine that'd be a very tech savvy class. So what kind of programs are you using to create this animation online?
So far, so year ones, we focus more on 2D animation fundamentals first. So for the first marking period, part of the second marking period, we were primarily using pencil, paper,
Okay.
paint, different traditional mediums to understand fundamentals more. And we still reference those materials a lot. But moving on with our classes, we've also started using Adobe Photoshop,
Yep.
Illustrator,
Yep.
Animate. And we've started using Maya, which is a 3D animation and 3D modeling software.
It's cool. Very cool.
Steve, so I'm hoping one will be a doctor and the other will be an animator for Disney, and then I'm all set.
There, yeah. I mean, you'll have your indoor pool then, you know, other amenities like that. That sounds great.
But it'll be still right here in Lebanon Borough, though, Steve.
Yeah. No, I mean, so do you like where you live, girls? Do you like in terms of Lebanon and your mother and I were talking about, you know, the nature and the park and just the tremendous amount of opportunities that you have there.
Yeah, I really like it. Because it's a very small town, it's very quiet and it's just a very nice and peaceful area to live.
Cool. No, I mean, the other thing I would say as a runner, I mean, this is probably different, but it's probably not in the borough. It's probably in the border of the borough in the township. But I tried to do a marathon and like, you know, trains. And then I was like 2 months out and then my knee seized up. And I went to a PT. I was like, look, I paid this money. And so as soon as I thought in a good enough shape to start the marathon. And as soon as I started, it started seizing up. I got to about mile 11 and I had to walk and run the rest of it. And I ended up going, believe it or not, to an acupuncturist on the border of Lebanon, of township and borough. And that took care of my problem. Out of anything, the acupuncturist took care of my problem.
We like to hear those naturopathic success stories. And the fact that you were so committed and you finished that, Steve. I remember years ago, I ran the Atlantic City. It was a marathon. They had the half also.
Yep.
And, but I broke no records because by the time I finished half of my half, the winner of the entire marathon had already completed the race. You know,
you don't worry about things like that.
That's right. But you know, say both kids really, you know, when I was campaigning, we had it was Alexa's little red wagon. We stuck our sign in it. We held hands. And the three of us went and knocked on 1,000 doors together. So these are my partners. They, you know, wearing their Vote for My Mom t-shirts probably contributed to the success of my getting elected in town. So I'm very fortunate.
No, yeah, little kids help. And here's to us being able to knock on doors once again in the hopefully upcoming months, if not next year. And again, thank you very much. I've been joined again with Marlene Baldinger of Lebanon Borough. And Marlene and your children, Ava, Alexa, thank you very much for joining me today on Tapinto You.
Thanks for everything, Steve.
Thank
We enjoyed
you.
it. Take care.
Safe.
Bye-bye.